Hey, good morning. I am Steve Weber. Welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show. Today is Friday, May 21st, and this is show number 177. So welcome to Friday, the end of the week. Today is going to be another monologue only session. I've got a presentation prepared, and I'm excited to share that with you. And that'll be coming up in just a minute. And the monologue is called the Purpose, Vision, Mission Exercise. Purpose, Vision, Mission Exercise. What I ended up doing was creating my own purpose, vision, and mission statement. And I did that back in 2014, 7 years ago, and it's held up pretty well. But it does need to be revised and updated a little bit. So as I begin that process, I thought I'd explain the whole series of what I actually did then and why it'll actually be pretty easy to update today as a result of the work that I did back then. So that's what's going to happen. So let me tell you about what's going to happen next week. Not sure if I'm doing a show on Monday or not. That's sort of my standard line. I never know quite if I'm going to do one. But the plan is to do shows Tuesday through Friday for sure, and maybe on Monday. And on Wednesday, I'm going to do a remote broadcast with Stacy Redfield. Stacy's been a regular guest here on the show several times. And I'm going to go to her Pilates studio in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and we'll do a live remote from her Pilates studio. That's on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, Jedediah Crouch is going to join us. And Jedediah is somebody I met 4 or 5, well, maybe 3-4 months ago. I'm not 100% sure exactly when, but it's been several months now. And through the Spirituality Gone Wild crowd, I met Jedediah, and he's got a story. We all have a story. He's going to share his story. He's an author. He's got a chapter in a book that has a bunch of other inspirational stories, and really it's a story of him overcoming his addiction and recovery and what he's doing with his life today. So that's going to be on Thursday. So that's so Jedediah Smith there, live remote on Wednesday with Stacy Redfield from her Bethlehem, Pennsylvania Pilates studio. All righty. So let's go ahead and jump into today's monologue. And again, I'm calling it the Purpose, Vision, Mission Exercise, because it really was a whole exercise in which I went through and basically just ended up creating. Let's see, I'm quick adjusting my vision here. Whoops, wait a minute. Oh, there we go. I'm still sharing my screen and getting ready to go. So here we go. All right. So the Purpose, Mission, Vision. Purpose, Vision, Mission Exercise. All righty, let's see what that's all about. Now, I'll go ahead and let me put myself in the bigger spot here. I think that's going to be good enough for right now. Well, I might expand the screen if I need to show you some detail. But basically, what happened was, 2014, I was involved, and I'll just jump to the next slide because that's going to explain this a little bit better here. All righty. So, and this is basically the acknowledgments I'm saying. So I was part of the NSA Mountain West National Speakers Association chapter. I was on their board of directors, and there was a training I forget if it was a 1-day or a 2-day thing, but anyway, it was a training exercise that we went through, and the goal was to learn how to create a mission and a vision statement for the chapter, for the organization that I was in. And there was a fellow, Steve Lashansky, who I got to know. He was part of, he still is, I guess, part of NSA, and his business is Optimize International, and he was the one who led this group training. And so this was his technique, and he taught it to our group, and it really is designed for organizations and businesses. And he's got a great process that he goes through where he gets the group together and he asks a series of questions, and he really makes it happen fast. And so it's something that, in basically, in one day, or maybe 2 days, I don't quite remember, we were able to essentially come up with a mission and a vision and the big picture of what this was all about, the organization, and using the collaboration of the whole team. And so I decided that I wanted to go through that. I was so impressed with it that I essentially adopted his methodology for my own personal use. And I went through the same kind of an exercise, except I did it by myself. I wasn't doing part of a team because I was trying to decide, well, where was Speaking Gump at the time going with this? And American Gumption didn't start until last year, 2 years ago, really. And so I was trying to, my speaking business and what I wanted to do and go forward with it. And, speakinggump.com, still the website's still alive and active. But I thought I would create my own purpose and mission. And I had read the Simon Sinek's book, Your Why, and it never reading his book and getting to his why, that never quite worked. But I liked this methodology that Steve Lashansky taught us. And so I adopted it for my own use and said, I'm going to do it for myself. And so ended up going through the process. And then the last thing I just want to say is that if your organization or group needs this type of help, then please reach out to Steve at Optimize International. It's Optimize intl.com, Optimize INTL for Optimize International, and reach out to Steve and have his team, help you, because that's what they do. And it's really, again, for groups and organizations. But I'm just letting everybody know that I didn't invent this for myself. I used his methodology, and I'm extremely grateful. And he ended up coaching me as I did it. And I'll show you some of the things. And it wasn't like we worked together all the time on it, but I reached out to him a few times and got some advice and some encouragement as I was going through the process. And I'll describe that a little bit more as I go through the slides here. So this is the document that I ended up creating. I'll go ahead and make it a little bigger, even though you're not going to be able to see it. You're not going to be able to read any of this, but basically there's 4 different categories on the right side and 5 over on this left side. And then you can see it's a mind map, and there's all this detail that I had. And I went through it, and it was a step-by-step process in order to go through it. So that was the doc. And I have not changed this document since I completed it back in kind of the fall of 2014. It took me about a 6-month period to do this. Now, it didn't take me 6 months to do it. I had it essentially done in about a couple of weeks, roughed in, but I kept going back every few weeks and revising it and really thinking it through and trying to make sure that I was, really committed to this thing. So it wasn't like something I created in like a weekend and said, good enough. I ended up reviewing it over the course of several months until I finally got to the point. You can see it's version 3.3. So that tells me that there was, it was like originally it was a 1.0, and then it, 1.1, 1.2, and somewhere it jumped up to 2.0 when I made some kind of a major change, and then it went to 3.0, and then, so I guess kept changing it and tweaking it. So what I'm going to share today is this, the ideas from this particular document, and it does need to be updated. And I'm going to be doing that over the next few weeks, but it's going to be an easier process because an awful lot of it is held up pretty good. And I'll explain what I mean by that as I go along. I'll go ahead and put that back there because you're not going to be able to read that anyway. And it's, the rest of this language should be big enough that you should be able to easily read it. So there's 9 steps to going through this, and you want to complete them in order. So in other words, you want to do 1, which number 1 is your values, and then number 2, your beliefs. You don't want to start out at number 8 or 9, which is your goals or your strategies on how you're going to implement your goals. And that's really the problem. And that's the mistake that many people and organizations make when they're doing this, is they right away they have their goals in mind, but they hadn't taken the time to establish the foundation of what their values and beliefs and rules and identity, purpose, vision, mission are. And again, this process, the way it was explained to me and the way I ended up doing it, was you wanted to complete them in order and have things build on, your beliefs build on your values, and the rules build on your values and your beliefs, and your identity builds on your values, beliefs, and rules. So it's like if you don't take the time to lay down that foundation, it's, you're not going to end up with as good of a result. And I think for me, the proof in the pudding is that 7 years later, this has held up very well. It's withstood the test of time. And my values, beliefs, and rules, they're going to be updated and adjusted, but they're going to essentially be the same across the board. There's going to be a little bit of modification and a little bit of adjustment to them. And then even in my identity, purpose, and vision, mission, those are going to end up being, they're going to be some, maybe a little bit more adjustments to those, but they're going to be pretty close to what they were originally. Now, when you get down to the goals and the strategies, those are the things that are going to need to be, seriously updated, because lots of things have changed, things have been accomplished, things have been, directions have shifted. So anyway, that's, I guess the lesson of this is that if you take the time to do, if you take the time to lay down your foundation of what your values and beliefs and rules are, those things aren't going to change that much over time, or they shouldn't necessarily change that much over time. And as you go further down this chart, that's where you need to make the changes and the updating. So in my case, I think I need a little tiny bit of changes at these first couple, and then maybe a little tiny bit more changes in some of the middle items, but then lots of changes on the goals and the strategies when we get to that level. So that's the process. Now, I'll be able to go fairly quick through these slides and just explain what it is. So let's see, go back. If you take that list and you put a line right through it, the first four are on the right side and of the chart that I had shown, and the last five were on the left side of that mind map chart that I have. And the internal were on the right, and then the external were on the left. And what I mean by that is the internal are really what the organization, or what me as, for me as an individual, what I believe. And then the external is what I really want to share with the world. And that would be more the public face. So the internal is more of the private, what your beliefs are. Now, those, you can be sharing those with the public. There's nothing wrong with that, but you want to do that thinking that, like, okay, this is really, for what I believe internally, and then this is how I present myself externally to the world. That's my my understanding of the way it all ended up working out. So values. What are your values? What's important? What do you care about? What do you stand for? I mean, those would be some simple questions that you might ask as you start to put the values in. And in my case, I ended up putting, I had several of them. I had a whole bunch of them, but responsibility and freedom are the two that I'm going to, we're kind of at the very top of it, and they've held up, and they are what I stand for today as much as, what I stood for back then. Getting this list right took time, though. That's when I said that it took me 6 months. I mean, it wasn't like I looked at it at the end. I didn't look at it, but every once a month, or even once every 2 months at the very end, until I finally said good enough. But at the beginning, I remember I was getting up for probably about a several week period. I was getting up every day, and I would work on it for a little bit. I'd go through it, think about it, and I'd change things, and I'd move things around, and I'd, really go through the process of thinking it through. So the very first thing is you want to establish, what are your values? What are those, 10, 12, 20 words that come to mind that are your values. All right. And then number two is your beliefs. What do you believe in? What are your particular truths? How do you see the world? And the two that I've listed here are responsibility is the foundation of personal freedom. Now that includes responsibility and freedom that I had in that first chart. I'll go back and show you that. Again, the examples there were, let's see here. Responsible. Oh, I got to go back too. So Steve's values, responsibility and freedom. And then if I jump ahead to my beliefs, responsibility is the foundation for personal freedom. And the second one I put is we're all connected. We're all connected. When I put that down in the time, that was kind of like, I didn't know that I really believed that, but I was like becoming to believe that. That's the one that is like, that whole connectedness has probably been the strongest belief I've had over the last, 7 years in terms of changing my life and really digging in deep to that. So, and I had 7 beliefs, but I'm only listing 2 just for the sake of, just giving you an example of how this works. So number 3 is the rules. How are you going to function? What are the guardrails for your daily living? What are your boundaries? And that's really what the rules are, in terms of like, what are the rules you want to live your life by? And so a couple of examples are make it fun, keep it simple. From my Gump days, I always had a lot of fun. I like to have a lot of fun. This show is, about a lot of fun. I attempt to keep it simple. And even though, we talk about, subjects that are, have some depth to them and have some seriousness to them, I try to present them in a simple and a fun way. And then one of the other rules that I had, and again, I had 7 or 8 rules, and I'll share them as I update them, at another time, break rules that stop progress. I'm all about action. I'm about getting things done. I like to take action sometimes, even if I don't feel ready to take action. And so, if you have rules, go ahead and break them, just if you can, keep the thing moving along. So what do they say? It's better to beg for forgiveness than to ask for permission. Beg for forgiveness rather than ask for permission. So that's, I guess that's what I meant by that rule there. Alrighty. So your identity. Now, identity is, how do you view yourself? What are your, what do you, and this is kind of a private thing. It's kind of a personal thing, not something you're going to necessarily announce it on your website and put it out there, because it's going to probably sound a little egotistical if you do that. But how do I view myself? What do I want to be? How am I serving others, making the world a better place? And, the 2 that I have here is I listed that I was going to be the world's leading expert on gumption. Well, I wouldn't say that I'm known for that yet, but I'm on my way. That's certainly easily accomplished if I keep going in the direction that I'm going. So that was like one of those pretty big, audacious goals that I put out there. And then internal corporate messenger. I had this vision back in 2014 where I'm going to work for a company like I did for Bubba Gump, but there I was like working to the public, and I don't mind working for the public, but somehow, promoting the values of a company and an organization. And so if you look at my vision I laid out a few weeks ago of the American Gumption shows, and then a brand manager or a spokesman or a partner that I work for, this is right. Internal corporate messenger is right on target with that whole idea. So stay tuned as that all gets updated and gets filled in. So again, now the first 4, the values, beliefs, rules, and identity that we went through, they're more that internal, and then the external are the ones we're going to show up here. And then these will be the ones that you publicly talk about all the time. And the first ones will be more like for your foundation of what you believe, so that you know what you want to share publicly. All righty. And again, there's that chart, and it shows the 4 on the right. You can't really see it, but trust me, the 4 on the right side half, and then the 5 on the left side coming up that we're going to talk about next. All righty. So 5 is the purpose. What is this? Again, if you're a corporation, it's what's your corporate purpose. But if you're, in my case, an individual, what's my life's purpose? And how am I going to live my life? Why am I here in this time and space lifetime? And this kind of the big, it's kind of like a big question type of thing you're asking here. So these aren't, and one of the things I'll just share, it was difficult doing this because you put down things, and sometimes they're too small, sometimes they're not sharp enough, and that's why it took several months to get this to get this right. So here's my purpose: be positive, visionary, and loving. Be positive, visionary, and loving. And the second part is combine the Gump character with Steve's authentic self to make the world a better place. So back then I knew that the Gump character was something special. I haven't been using the Gump character a lot lately because I've really been, I had the Gump character part down back then when I wrote this. I did not have the Steve's authentic self part down, and I've been working on that. And that's what this show's been all about. So there's still, I still have to kind of complete this portion where it's like, okay, you combine those two, okay, my authentic self and who I am, and then, bring this Gump character in for some little, icing on the cake or some spice here and there. And then how do you make the world a better place with that? And then overall, though, be positive, visionary, and loving in the way I present myself to the world and interact with the world. All right. So now, and if you look at purpose, vision, and mission, they're really like kind of at the highest level. And then, they're all at the high level, but they get maybe a little bit more specific. So if you had your purpose, now vision might become more like, what's your intention and how do I plan to accomplish what was my purpose, and how can I make a real difference and, a real difference in the world. And in my case, I came up with the statement that says, create a worldwide gumption movement that inspires individuals to live their life with gumption. So create a worldwide gumption movement that inspires individuals to live their life with gumption. So you can see it's a little more outwardly focused, whereas the purpose was kind of more like, my own, for my own needs. And then, the vision was more like how that I want to present myself to the world. At least that's the way I'm interpreting this. And then if you get mission, you go even more specific. So how do you accomplish your vision? What's your mission is like, kind of like the next one's going to be goals after mission. Well, what's your like one overriding or overarching goal? That might be your mission. And, again, it's a goal that how do you want to change the world? How do you want to make an impact and do something that is hopefully meaningful? And so anyway, in my case, I said, create experiences that inspire groups and individuals to think big, embrace change, and take 100% personal responsibility for making their world a better place. So experiences is really what it's all about. I see my role and my mission is in creating experiences. So having, events and memorable interactions and or this show that hopefully will inspire, others to, to think big and to embrace change and take responsibility so that they can make their world better. So you don't want to necessarily try to browbeat somebody. You want to inspire them to do it on their own. All righty. That's the mission. Now, keep going here. We're down to just a couple left. Goals. Now, the goals, these can be numerous. So there was like 7 or 8, and most of them didn't seem appropriate to share with you at this point because my goals have changed. Either I accomplished them or I kind of, shifted direction and wasn't going to accomplish some of them. But anyway, goals should really be more, they can be numerous. They can be, 4 or 6 or 10 of them, I guess you could have. But there are specific, measurable, actionable goals and things that can be done in the coming months and years. So they're big in the sense that you're not going to sit down this afternoon and get it done. That's more of a task, right? They're bigger goals, but they're not necessarily lifetime goals. They're like goals that are right out there in the next, weeks and months and years, as opposed to, something that you just knock out instantly. So what did I have as one of the goals that I'm willing to share with you today? Solve interesting communication challenges for privately held and small to medium-sized corporate businesses. Solve interesting communication challenges for privately held and small to medium-sized businesses. So I like smaller companies. I like working for the person that's in charge. And so privately held, I mean, basically I need to be, I don't see myself as part of the team. I see myself as more of a consultant coming in as a, kind of a hired gun to, like work on specific kind of challenges. And again, all these communication problems and always around change and around the big picture, around the vision. So this is the vision. This is the kind of this is the kind of things I like to do. So that's one of the goals that I had on there. And there was a bunch of others. And again, those need to be updated and will be updated. And I'll share them as we go forward. So finally, strategies, that's more like, how do you accomplish accomplish these goals? What actions can you take today and this week in order to make them happen? And the next few weeks, if they're big goals that need lots of attention, and what specific actions will produce this, specific results. So specific actions and specific results. Again, we're getting more down into the granular level of how this all works. And what that I include as my goal, or one of my strategies was adopt a I'm not sure if this should be adapt or adopt. I think adopt a publisher's mindset to nurture prospects into long-term happy clients by providing value in all my communications. Well, in a way, this show is a pretty good example of that, where I'm creating, I'm calling myself more of a broadcaster than a publisher, but I'm publishing lots of broadcast, right? Lots of content. This little presentation, a good example of that type of thing. I created all this content over a 10-year period. And then basically I wrote it out and I published it on my website and I talked about it, but who read it? So now we're attempting to, broadcast it out and let it reach more people and share it with more people. So that's that mindset there. And again, strategies, you might have 10 strategies for each particular goal. So you might have 10 goals and you could have 10 strategies to accomplish that one goal. And so all told, you could have 100 different strategies. And so anyway, so that's really it. We're kind of getting to the end here. Do I have another slide? No, I don't. Let me go back to, here we go. So, again, you can see here where the strategies down here, here they are down here, the strategies, there's lots of them there. Goals, there was lots of goals, mission, vision, purpose right up here, 1, 2, and 3, or 5, 6, and 7. And then, your original values, beliefs, and your rules, and then your identity. And again, there was a lot more detail that I shared with you today, but I just wanted to give you that idea on what I was thinking about with this whole thing. So that is it. I think we're going to basically just wrap up. That is my monologue on the purpose, mission, and vision and mission exercise. I want to just one more time say thank you to Steve Lashansky, who was the guy who actually brought this to my attention and showed me how to do it, and it was really meant for a corporate environment. I'm going to just put his website up one more time. Here we go. I can share this one more time here. There we go. So Steve Lashansky, Optimize International, www.optimizeintl.com. There's a picture of Steve, and it was really his influence that allowed me to create that for myself. Now, here's the beautiful thing about this. I would look at it over the years. I have a copy and I print it out and I look at it and I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is this is held up pretty well, especially those values and beliefs and rules. Those don't change a lot. If you do those right, you're not going to change those an awful lot. Maybe a little bit, and nothing wrong with that. Maybe some things, want to get de-emphasized and some other things need to be emphasized a little bit more. So you do change them a little bit, but it's not like you suddenly drop a belief completely. That's, I suppose, possible. And you might add some new beliefs, and you might just take some beliefs that you're not, they're part of who you are, but you're not wanting them focused on it. So those things aren't going to change a lot, but I do want to update them all. And then the vision and the mission and the purpose, I do want to update that. Again, there's not going to be that's going to be fairly easy this time to do. But then those goals and the strategies, that's where everything needs to be kind of redone and simplified and brought up into, 7 years later, So anyway, that's it. If you ever, decide you need to create a purpose and a mission and a vision for it, there's all kinds of books out there on how to do it. I just wanted to share with you the process that I used, and again, say thank you to Steve Lashansky Optimize International for teaching me that methodology and for generously, coaching me and helping me through it. Oh, and I guess the last thing I can say about the coaching that I received is I remember I would send him a mission or a vision statement, and he'd say, this sounds more like a mission statement than a vision statement, or this is more of a purpose statement than a vision statement. And it took me a long time and a lot of thinking to kind of really grasp that and to understand what the subtle difference between those were. So over that 6-month period, I sent him, a couple, 2 or 3 different revisions of it. And I say, hey, here's my latest, revision on what I'm thinking about, and he would help me. And even in the rules and in the the beliefs, I mean, he would say, this one sounds more like a rule than a belief, or this one sounds more like a value than a belief that you have. And I didn't get that early on when I started that. I didn't get the distinction between those. And so if you get those and you learn the distinction between them all, then, you end up, that lasts your lifetime in terms of, where you go forward. So, alrighty, that's it. Have a great Friday, everybody. Next week, a live remote on Wednesday from Stacy Redfield's Pilates studio in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and that's on Wednesday. And then Jedediah Crouch on Thursday with his story of recovery. I'm not sure if I'm doing a show on Monday or not. That's always been up in the air, so we'll just see what happens. And then on Tuesday, plan to be here live. Alrighty, have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you next week. And whoops.